Today, we're going to talk about one of the most emotionally charged conversations you might ever have with your aging parent, discussing whether they're ready to accept in home nursing care. If you're watching your parents struggle with daily tasks while knowing they'll resist any suggestion of help, you're caught between respecting their fierce independence and that growing fear that their safety is genuinely at risk. The conversation feels impossible because the stakes are so high. One wrong word, wrong tone, or wrong timing can damage a relationship, trigger their defensiveness, and make them dig in harder against the very help that they need. Most adult children approach this as a problem to solve or a decision to impose, which is precisely why conversations about accepting care so often end in frustration and family conflict. But there is a better way. Today, we're going to walk through how to talk to your aging parent about in-home nursing care using an approach that honors their autonomy, addresses their real fears, and transforms what feels like an impossible conversation into a collaborative discussion that actually strengthens your relationship. So, let's dive in. Okay, before you say a single word about in-home nursing care, you need to understand the deep emotions driving your parents' resistance. Most seniors don't resist help because they're just stubborn or difficult. They resist because accepting help feels like losing their identity. For decades, they've been independent. They've taken care of themselves and their family without any assistance. Needing help with basic activities like bathing, dressing, or cooking feels like admitting that they can no longer control their own life. This fear runs especially deep in people who grew up valuing independence as a core part of who they actually are. And beyond independence, there are privacy concerns. Your parent might worry about losing control over their daily routines, personal space, and decision-making. And then there's guilt. Many aging parents don't want to feel like a burden to their children with caregiving responsibilities and the accompanying financial costs. They might feel guilty about needing assistance, or they might believe that refusing help actually protects you from stress and expenses. But here's the important thing to remember. These concerns are valid. They deserve acknowledgement, not dismissal. Your parent isn't being irrational. They're protecting what matters most to them: their dignity, autonomy, and their sense of being a burden on the people they love. So timing matters tremendously. Don't have this conversation right after a health scare or a recent hospital stay. During these moments, emotions run high, which leads to defensive reactions. So instead, pick a time when your parent feels calm and healthy. Look for natural openings. If your parent mentions feeling tired from housework or maybe struggling with daily tasks, use that moment. Watch for subtle signs like missed medications, unpaid bills, or a home that isn't quite being maintained the way that it used to. Avoid bringing this up during family gatherings or holidays or when your parent might feel like they're being ganged up on. A quiet, one-on-one conversation works so much better. And here's a powerful strategy. Involve your parent's doctor. Many older adults trust medical professionals and may accept in-home care more readily when it comes as a doctor's recommendation rather than advice or suggestions from their adult child. When you do have the conversation, approach it with genuine curiosity, not as a problem solver. Start by listening. Ask open-ended questions like, well, what worries you most about having someone help? Or what would make this easier for you? Let your parent express their concerns fully before you respond. They need to be heard, not dismissed. Then, validate what you hear. If your parent says, I don't want a stranger in my home, well, don't dismiss that concern. Say something like, okay, I understand that feels scary. Let's talk about what would make you feel more comfortable with it. Next, reframe the conversation from what they can't do to what in-home care will enable them to do. Instead of, oh, you can't manage the housework anymore, try, I would love for you to have more energy to do the things that you enjoy. In-home care could handle the tasks that drain you so you can focus on what matters most. And here's something really important. Let your parent be part of the choosing solution. Don't present in-home care as something that you've already thought of and you've already decided. Present it as one option worth exploring together. And you don't need to jump into full-time care right away. Begin with just a few hours per week. Focus on tasks that maybe your parent finds the least personal. A caregiver might start with light housekeeping, grocery shopping, or meal prep, rather than things like bathing or the medication management. Starting small does several things. It builds trust between your parent and the caregiver. It reduces the feeling of them losing independence. It allows them time to adjust to having someone else in the home. And it makes it easier to add hours and services later. You might also say, I worry about you overworking yourself on housework. It would ease my mind if someone could help with that. So that way you're kind of framing it as this is helping you rather than just living a life that they can't manage. And this approach preserves their dignity. You can also present home support as temporary, like, well, okay, let's try this for a month and see how it goes. Once the caregiver becomes part of the routine, continuing will feel more natural. And here's the key to long-term success with this. Your parent needs to feel like an active participant in decisions about their care, not someone who's just having things done to them. Give them real control. Let them choose which days and times that a nurse visits. Let them decide which tasks they want help with first. Let them interview potential nurses and have the final say in who's going to be working in the home. Ask specific questions. Do you prefer a male or female nurse? What daily routines matter the most to you? Which rooms in the house should always remain private? If resistance continues after services begin, and it might, stay patient. Schedule weekly check-ins. Ask what's working and what isn't. Small adjustments can make a big difference. Address specific concerns with very specific solutions. If cost is the issue, review the budget together. If your parent doesn't like a particular caregiver, you can always request a different one. The care arrangement should evolve based on their feedback. And remember, you do not have to do this alone. A geriatric care manager can provide objective assessments of your parent's needs without the emotional complications that family members often bring. Your parent's doctor is an ally here. They can explain medical needs in terms that your parent understands and may recommend specific types of home care. Medical professionals often carry more weight in these discussions than adult children do, like we said before. All right, let me close by highlighting what your parent and what your family actually gain from in-home nursing care. Okay, your parent, first of all, gets to stay at home. They get to sleep in their own bed, keep their routine, and maintain their independence longer. They get the medical support that they need while living surrounded by their personal belongings and the comfort of familiarity. For you, in-home care provides something invaluable: relief. Relief from the physical and emotional demands of caregiving. You get scheduled breaks. You can return to work, run errands, rest. And you can focus again on being your parent's child instead of their caregiver without the guilt. Professional caregivers also reduce family conflicts. When someone else handles difficult tasks like personal hygiene or medication management, you can spend quality time together instead of just managing their care. Most importantly, both you and your parent benefit from a relationship that stays connected and strong rather than one strained by unmet care needs and resentment. So having this conversation with your aging parent, it isn't easy. We know that. But it is necessary, and it does not have to be a confrontation. Approach it as a partnership. Listen more than you talk. Validate their concerns. Let them maintain control. And start small. Involve professionals who can help. And remember, most parents resist in-home care not because they're being difficult, but because they're afraid of losing the person that they've always been. When you approach the conversation with understanding, I promise you everything changes. You're not asking your parent to give up. You're asking them to accept help so they can keep doing the things that matter most. And that is a conversation worth having.